Welcome back to another episode of ROC Boys Football. Today we are taking a look at the 2022 NFL Draft running back class, a class that I don't think is that good. You can see I don't have first-round grades on any of these guys. A couple of guys snuck into the day two grade, but even a guy like Damian Pierce probably could be more of a day three guy. Let's get into it, though. Kenneth Walker comes in as the number one prospect. Breece Hall and him, I think, are far and away the two best prospects. The only two
getting way less convinced that Kenneth Walker's like head and shoulders better. And I still like Kenneth Walker a little better, but they both are great. Or not great, but like
they're the best.
Very hard to distinguish.
They're the best two, and there's a pretty good drop off. Kenneth Walker he didn't catch many balls, so there's not that box isn't checked. And if you're drafting a running back in round 2, round 3, you ideally want to get some like a 3-down back. I think Breece Hall is a little bit more acquainted to that, but he doesn't pass protect as well. But in terms of pure ball carrying ability, I think Kenneth Walker is the best in terms of contact balance, the ability to make people miss cleanly. We saw him transform Michigan State's offense.
I feel like he's slightly more explosive. That's like when he gets to the edge on safeties, I feel like he turns up a little better.
Yep.
Although what Breece Hall has is like an incredible ability to make guys miss and keep going and make that transition very quick, which allows him to hit some good runs.
I mean, he's a very patient running back, a good vision, a patient behind an offensive line that stunk. Like the offensive line at Iowa State was not good, and Breece Hall Breece Hall also has tremendous contact balance. A little bit bigger of a frame and ran really well at the combine, which was nice to see just because you wanted to wonder if he had that breakaway speed. He ran a nice 40. Definitely helped the stock. I think both these guys are like end of day 2, early or end of round 2.
I think you can take a mid-second personally.
If Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall are on the board for the Bills, late second round, you taken?
No, I don't. I'm not a Bills need a running back. I think Devin Singletary is very good.
James Cook comes in as my third running back. And this is kind of my take on the running backs. Is you don't see many bell cows anymore. There's a few. I think there's 10 running backs who played over 60% of the offensive snaps this year, just showing you how much of a committee backfield it is. You see it in fantasy football. Like, it's hard to find those premier running backs who are getting all the work. James Cook's a guy that's not going to get all the work, but he's really good at what he does in terms of coming out of the backfield, motioned out to the slot, being able to win in space. Extremely smooth runner. Reminds me of Dalvin Cook a little bit, his older brother, in terms of being in space, being able to change direction in a very smooth manner. He's not as explosive as Dalvin Cook, but in terms of being smooth, change of direction, James Cook's there. And that's why, as an overall running back prospect, I like some guys more. But James Cook brings that ability to be a third down back and be really good in space. That's why he's my third down. He's my third running back off the board.
Yeah, I don't know. I think when you got guys like Zamir White, and we'll get into Spiller later, but Spiller, I think like guys who can do a little more and I get what you're saying with the no bell cow, but it just feels like a guy who really didn't take any snaps at true running back, maybe 5 a game, if that. And I don't know, seems high. Yeah. Also, a guy he's not going to be a big playmaker either, which I think hurts.
I disagree with that because his ability to make people miss at the next level in a really clean way, he doesn't have to run through anybody. Like Zamir White,
he doesn't have a ton of explosion and burst. Like, yeah, he's smooth and whatnot, but he's not going to hit home runs much. I don't see him.
But he's going to add some serious value in terms of third down, get him out in space because I think that's where he's best at. Zamir White, a little bit more of the first down back. People we were high on him early. We were high on him really early in the process. A guy that has had 2 ACL surgeries, was the top 10 recruit coming out to Georgia. They call him Zeus.
You can see it. You look at the guy, looks like an absolute marble statue. So that's something.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see why they call him Zeus. Had that nickname coming out of high school. But he's extremely explosive. Even with the surgeries, like in terms of just being shot out of a can and getting to the next level, he's got that. Now
he's an absolute hammer. Like he is going to be a guy people don't want to tackle.
Yeah, but now the negative with him is he's not as smooth as James Cook, not even close in terms of being able to change direction, make people miss clean at the second level, and I think that's why you see those explosive plays not be there as much for Zamir White because he can't make safeties kind of miss easy. He's really fast. He's really strong, and you like that. I think he'll be a very good running back, getting him 10, 15 carries a game. But in terms of that ability to make people miss like Kenneth Walker does, like James Cook does, it's not quite there. Who would I rather have? I think James Cook has more value as a third down back, and that's kind of why I'm taking him.
I guess the fair argument is like, is Zamir White going to be an elite all down back? Probably not. He'll be good, but not elite. So I guess if you see a James Cook as like a premier kind of third down guy or a premier versatile running back, which maybe you can, because he's probably the best not probably, almost assuredly he's the best pass catcher. So I can kind of get with that. That's fair. It's fair.
And Damian Pierce is a guy, 5'10", 220 pounds. Like, he has a little bit of a small frame, but he is yoked up, like just an absolute muscle hamster. He should have gotten more carries at Florida. I thought it was a joke that Dan Mullen just mismanaging that. He should have been 100.
It worked. Like against Bama, he was awesome, and he's driving the offense.
The best running back, and that was a good running back room. Dameon Pierce was easily the best running back in that backfield, and just wasn't getting the carries that I thought he should have. He's also very, very good in pass protection. Showed that at the Senior Bowl. I like Damien Pierce's game. He's really, really twitchy. Like, makes people miss. Explodes through holes. Runs the ball hard. I just am a little wary on how many carries you're going to be able to give him.
And a foxhole guy, for sure. Like a guy who just seemed like you wanted to be his teammate.
There was not many Florida guys that I consider foxhole guys. Damien Pierce is definitely one of them.
Not this year. He was
not this year. Tyler Allgeier comes in as my next running back. Coming in.
This is a bad take. Tyler Allgeier is not better than Kyren, Rashad, B-Rob, or Isiah Spiller.
In terms of an all-around prospect, that might be true. But Tyler Allgeier is an absolute horse getting downhill. He's not as explosive, but he's very, very good with that one-cut zone running scheme. He's hard to tackle. You kind of
he looks like he's in like sand. Is my problem. He just didn't look like. I don't. It just things weren't moving fast enough in my mind.
Yeah, the top end speed is.
And then when you get to like Rashad White, who he's not the most like physical runner, but he's got real athleticism in home run ability. So
he's probably the most.
I love Rashad White. I think he'd be higher on this list.
The thing is, he's really raw. Like in the bit, like
he runs a little high and some other things, but
he runs high. I don't think he gets downhill that much. He likes to go east and west, but he's got the tools. I just think he's like a raw running back, that's kind of what you take running backs for. He, in terms of like productivity, efficiency, he averaged 10 yards a carry during the COVID year. Like, that's disgusting. And it was on like 80 carries. Like he's explosive.
Well, COVID year in the Pac-12, I just kind of throw as a wash because I feel like nobody thought they were going to play, and it was just chaos the whole year.
Very true. And then Kyron Williams, in terms of being a complete running back, is not here. I don't like Kyron Williams. He doesn't have the top end speed. I don't think he runs that hard for being a smaller guy. Well, he runs hard for being a 200-pound guy, but you can only run so hard as a 200-pound guy. But in terms of being like out of the backfield, very, very good in pass protection. Him and Damien Pierce probably the two best pass protectors. He's going to be a great third down back.
The one thing he does, what I always felt like he had, was the runner's instinct, though. Like he found his way to holes. And I will say that got a little less obvious when the offensive line was not as good. So it could be like my brain's a little poisoned from. I mean, he was really good a year ago when Notre Dame's line was really good.
Yeah,
and less good this year. But I think this is a fair spot. He really didn't show. I mean, that's when his combine maybe matters a little bit. Like when you show you are way below on the athletic scale, and that's not great, especially when you weren't killing it.
And this gets to my point is, if you ask me, I have to pick one running back from Kyren Williams down to build my team around, and I only get one running back, it wouldn't be Kyren Williams, because I think his value comes in that third down back versus like I'd rather have a B-Rob or Hassan Haskins in terms of I'm having a guy to run to only be one running back. Like these guys are overall better running backs, but in terms of prospects, and you see how many times teams go by committee, having a third down back has some value. And I think that's why you'll see Kyron Williams jump some guys that he probably not better overall running backs than.
Two guys who are similar players in my mind, just big physical horses.
All three of these guys, I think, B-Rob, Hassan Haskins, Isiah Spiller, Abram Smith, they're all just the bigger running backs who are the first 10 running backs. Brian Robinson, a guy who waited his turn at Alabama, he's a very good running back. He runs the ball extremely hard, falls forward. And it's you could tell me Hassan Haskins is better, Isiah Spiller, Abram Smith even. Like, I don't have strong opinions on any of these guys being ranked above, but they don't have the home run hitting ability. Isiah Spiller is a guy that I'm just not that high on. Like, I don't think I see people have him in the talks of like Kenneth Walker, Breece Hall. Like, he's not there because I don't think he has that explosion. He's kind of a tweener guy. Like, he lost some weight to try to be like a super explosive guy, but he doesn't have that. He's much more of a Hassan Haskins and B-Rob, a mid-day 3 guy.
See, I don't know. When I watch Isiah Spiller, I always felt like there's a little more shake, a little more dynamic ability, and especially in like the phone booth kind of area where he seemed pretty crafty getting in and out of holes and in cuts and making things happen when there wasn't a ton of room. Which I think you're too low on Spiller personally. I think he'd be up there with like Rashad White and certainly better than Tyler Allgeier. I just disagree with that.
But. I want to touch on Hassan Haskins real quick because I feel like he's a guy that's not getting enough respect in terms of he's not flashy. Like, we know that Blake Corum was the flash. He was a lightning in that offense. But Hassan Haskins just doesn't get enough credit for being a good running back who finds space. I can't tell you how many 3rd and 4th and 1s there were where there was nothing to be had, and Hassan Haskins finds a way. When you block for 5, he's getting 7. When you block for 1, he's getting 3. He just finds those hidden yards. Extremely good vision. He runs the ball so hard. Like, people don't give him enough credit for how big he is. Like, he's big.
I'm with you on Hassan. Like, he's another guy who I just feel like you want to be his teammate. Did a ton for Michigan. I mean, was probably the most important guy on offense for the most part.
I would agree.
So I agree with you, but the thing is I do think there's a heavy cap on athleticism to an extent. I really don't think he's got a ton of juice, smoothness to his game or top end speed. He's got some power, but he seems a little not well. I do question the well-roundedness going into the pro.
See, I thought you'd appreciate it more because you watched every carry that dude's had twice or 3 times by now. It's not sexy. I get it's not sexy, but it's effective. Like, he is a very efficient runner. There's not many times where Hassan Haskins didn't get the yards that he was blocked for. Almost never.
Well, yeah, but that's like fair. I mean, again, like a Kyron Williams, like Michigan had a hammer offensive line unit this year. And he did. I'm not like saying I thought he was great, but I do feel like there's just the cat in that transition to the NFL. I don't know.
As a superlative, I'll ask you, who is it? You have to get a 4th and 1, and you're running a simple power. Who do you want running?
He's up there for sure.
He might be 1. I mean, his success rate on those 4th and 1s, like
I don't know how that's that relevant, but
that could be fair. It was more like a goal line 4th and 1 games on the line. You need to give it to the running back.
Yeah, because that happens like once every 2 years, maybe.
That could be fair, but I love Hassan Haskins. I don't think he gets it.
I love him too. I want him to go first round, but I just don't see it.
Maybe this was a little compensation because I do think he's a better prospect than people give him credit for.
I agree with that too.
Abram Smith, the guy, former linebacker. I actually wouldn't mind seeing the Bills get him late in this like 6th, 7th round. I'm higher on him than most of the NFL is, but he runs the ball really hard. He runs the ball like a former linebacker. I think the Bills could use that because I think they got Zach Moss to be that guy, but I don't think he runs the ball particularly hard. Abram Smith does. Jerrion Ealy, more of a Kyron Williams, but I just don't think he's got more athleticism than Kyron Williams, but I don't think he's as good of a running back, as good at the position as Kyron Williams in terms of pass pro.
He just, at the end of the day, he wasn't a dominant college player by any stretch. In like Abram Smith, Hassan Haskins, like those guys kind of were. And in Jerrion Ealy, he wasn't like making things happen for that offense. It was really all corral.
Yeah.
And Ely would get his touches, but he wasn't like you weren't depending on him for much.
I was disappointed in Jared Ely. He was a guy that was top 5 on my board coming in to the year. Like he was one of the I thought he was a dark horse for Heisman. I thought Lane Kiffin would have a field day using him, and he just wasn't as effective as I thought, especially with how good the offense was. Jared Ely wasn't as big of a part of the offense as I thought he would have been. I mean, they like to give the ball to Snoop Connor. They like to give the ball to Henry Parrish. So yeah,
he just wasn't. When you're not an impact guy in college,
Devontae Price from FIU reminds me a lot of Rashad White, just at a lower level. Runs really high, but is extremely explosive. It just doesn't seem like he's a weird running style to him, like Rashad White does. And it seems like he's got some work to do. And I don't know if there's technique of running the ball, but when you run high like that, I don't know how well it's going to translate to the NFL. But he runs a 4.3. He's extremely explosive. Was productive at FIU.
Now I see why he's so high on your board.
But he's not that high. He's literally he's a 6th, 7th round guy. He's not that high.
I don't even lie. I barely know who this is.
Yeah,
so.
Jerome Ford's a guy. Running back at Cincinnati, transferred from Alabama. I just don't know. There's not that much exciting to his game, quite frankly. There's not much where it's you're drafting him and he has a carved out spot. He's a depth running back who I think can get the job done. I think he'll get picked to be a depth running back. But I'm not. There's nothing where there's other guys up here like B-Robs, Hassan Haskins. They're bruisers. Raachad White has a lot of talent. Tyler Allgeier is a bruiser. Jared Ely's a third down space guy. Jerome Ford I don't see much of what he's going to excel at the next level. That's kind of why he's down there. Pierce Strong's a guy. FCS running back, tested extremely well. Was productive at South Dakota State, the Jackrabbits. But FCS guy with he doesn't have extreme athletic ability. Tested well. He's one of the best running backs in terms of testing. But
he was very good. I think you would have needed to see a lot more. You need to put up best all time type numbers to be
at one point
considerable guy.
We were watching the FCS. Degenerate us had nothing else.
They had the guy from Joplin, Missouri, taking the carries.
Joplin. That guy took a spot. I'm gonna have to clip that, send it to the fellas. Shout out, Joplin.
That's the tough thing with Pierce Strong at the end of the day. It's not
Donovan Knight, another guy that I just don't see necessarily where he fits in. He was a good kick returner for NC State. He was a good running.
Didn't take a step forward this year though, and wasn't the guy. He didn't get all the carries, and he didn't deserve all the carries.
He didn't deserve. Yeah, I thought he would have. I thought he was kind of one of my sleeper guys too, as a part of why I was so high on NC State. But Ricky Pearson's another good back that I don't think will get picked because I don't think he's quite the athlete.
Yeah, these guys get very fringe draft wise.
Yeah, these are all these guys are fringe. Tyler Baity's a guy who was Missouri's offense, was impressive when he got carries, but 5'8", under 200 pounds. I don't think was extremely explosive. He's just a really good running back at Missouri at the SEC level. But he's similar to Jerome Ford. He was a good running back at college, but what's he going to be great at the NFL? Why is the team going to draft him? And then two guys that we have undrafted guys who I just wanted to mention. Sincere McCormick from UTSA absolutely put up numbers the 3 years he was there. I think over 1,300 yards all 3 years. Put up crazy numbers. But he's another guy, 5'9", 205, kind of a fire hydrant, but 4.6 40, lacks explosion. Has good contact balance, ran the ball well, but in a bad conference. And then Max Borges, he's more of a guy that could be a little higher if you think that he can be a good third down guy. He's explosive, very shifty out of the backfield, but another guy that's been there for a couple of years. You kept thinking he'd take a step forward and just never really did. He was top 10 in Heisman odds to start the year this year. And then just didn't. I don't think he stayed healthy his last 2 years, and I just don't think he took the step forward. So.
Even though he was that high, that seems ridiculous.
Yeah, no, he was really high. It was very weird.
He just didn't get enough play.
He could have been a guy that could have ran for 1,300 yards and caught for 700 if things panned out, but it just didn't pan out that way. That's a review of the running back class. Overall, not a very strong class. And next year's class is going to be loaded.
No top-end dogs. There's just no guy he could be Christian McCaffrey, Zeke, those alphas.
The last couple of years, we've seen some really good classes. Last year was Najee, Javonte Williams, and the year before with JT, Travis Etienne, throw him in with the 2020.
Yeah.
This year, not as many top end guys. There's some depth guys. I think 10 running backs might be drafted. Some of these guys, not so much, but we did get eyeballs on a decent amount of them. So we thought we'd evaluate them, give you guys our takes. Let us know if you missed out on some running backs. There were some guys that I wanted to include, Snoop Connor being one from Ole Miss. A couple of Kennedy Brooks from Oklahoma I thought deserved maybe a shout out. Didn't end up putting them on. Let us know who we should maybe check out. Obviously, appreciate you guys watching the videos, rocking with the ROC Boys, and we'll talk to y'all with some more NFL draft content later. Peace, y'all.